Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad to have you here. How are you all doing today? I hope everything is going well in your corner of the world. But today's episode takes a different turn. Things aren't going so great for Kiet. He's hit a rough patch, and honestly, he's not himself right now. It feels like something really important has been taken from him, and he's struggling to cope. You know those moments when life just feels a little too heavy, and no matter how hard you try, you can't shake the feeling that something's missing? That's exactly where Keat is. In today's story, we're going to walk with him through this emotional journey, his heartbreak, his silence, and those little moments that quietly reveal just how deeply he's hurting. But as always, hidden in every story are pieces of hope, lessons to be learned, and maybe even a spark of healing. So stay with me, because you won't want to miss the twists and turns ahead. This is more than just another day in Keat's life. It's a chapter that might just resonate with something inside you too. The scorching heat of summer was relentless, almost as if the sun itself wanted to burn everything in its path. The air was thick and heavy, and each breath felt like it came with a weight. But even in this unbearable heat, Tuna didn't slow down. She's a mother first, and everything she does is for her little girl. That love drives her, even when the days are long and the sun is unforgiving. She wants nothing more than to give her daughter a better life, a life filled with hope, comfort, and opportunity. So no matter how tired she feels or how intense the heat becomes, she keeps pushing forward. Today, she left her daughter in the care of a kind neighbor, someone she trusts, so she could head out to the fields alone. The task ahead? Harvesting watermelons. Tuna had an idea. With the summer heat pressing down on everything and everyone, wouldn't something cold and sweet bring a little joy? Wouldn't a fresh, juicy watermelon be exactly what people needed to cool off, if only for a moment? So, she made her way to the nearby fields, under the blazing sun, her clothes already clinging to her from sweat and dust. With care and determination, she gathered the ripe melons, loading them one by one, each one a small piece of hope. Later, she would take them to the market, where maybe they'd sell, maybe not. But she had to try. This is a glimpse into her life, not just of struggle, but of a quiet strength. A mother's love packed into every decision, every step under the hot sun. The sun had barely risen, but the heat was already intense. The early morning light shimmered across the dusty fields, and Tuna was already hard at work. With quick, practiced hands, she moved through the watermelon patch, searching for the biggest, ripest, and juiciest fruit she could find. Time was tight. She wanted to get to the town market before the day grew even hotter. One by one, she picked the melons, their green skins slick with morning dew and warmth. As she wiped sweat from her brow, she looked down at the pile she'd gathered and thought to herself, "These are big and sweet. They'll sell fast today." With that little burst of hope, she lifted the heavy load onto her shoulders and began the long walk into town. Once she arrived, she quickly set up her spot, laying out the watermelons with care, arranging them in a way that made them look even more irresistible under the sun. And just like she expected, it didn't take long. People came, drawn by the freshness, the color, the promise of something cool and delicious in the middle of a hot summer day. Within no time, every last melon was gone, except one. Tuna smiled to herself and gently set it aside. She had someone in mind. Keat might be coming by to visit her and the baby later, and she wanted to share something sweet with him. It was a small gesture, but for her, it meant a lot. As the market began to quiet down, she packed up her things quickly and made her way back to pick up her daughter. The two of them walked that familiar dusty road home, hand in hand. The sun was high now, the heat pressing in from all sides, but Tuna didn't complain. When they finally got home, the little one had dozed off in her arms. She gently laid her daughter down on the bed, brushed a stray hair from her forehead, and let her sleep peacefully. With a quiet sigh, Tuna stepped outside to water the small garden. The plants looked tired from the heat too. Then she turned to a few simple chores, things that couldn't wait. Because in her world, love is in the little things, early mornings, tired feet, and saving the sweetest melon for someone special. It was a quiet afternoon. The sun hung lazily in the sky, casting golden light over the countryside. Tuna and her daughter sat outside on the porch, catching a rare, peaceful moment. Just the two of them enjoying a light breeze and the soft sound of cicadas in the distance. Suddenly, a familiar silhouette appeared on the road. As the figure came closer, a smile lit up Tuna's face. It was Keat. He had taken advantage of his lunch break to visit her and the baby. These surprise visits meant more to her than he probably knew. Kiet greeted them warmly, sat down beside her, and asked how her day had gone. Tuna, still glowing from the surprise, quickly handed her daughter to him and hurried inside. She came back holding a watermelon, one she'd saved just for him. It was her way of showing gratitude, of offering a piece of the day she had worked so hard for. They sat together, chatting and laughing as they shared slices of the sweet fruit. Kiet began telling her about his job, how things had been going lately at the factory, and then something unexpected came up. He mentioned that a new employee had recently joined, someone young and curious. This new guy had asked him, rather bluntly, if the woman Keat often visited, Tuna, was married, and if so, whether her husband would be angry about Keat coming around so often. Kiet had smiled and answered honestly. Her husband passed away some time ago. But as he spoke those words, he had no idea who he'd been talking to. That new worker, without either of them realizing it, was actually Tuna's former husband. At that moment, Tuna's smile faded. Her expression grew tense, her fingers nervously tightening around her cup. She turned to Kiet, hesitated for a second, then asked quietly, "Kiet, if I told you my husband had come back, would you believe me?" He blinked, caught off guard. "Come on, you're joking, right? How could someone come back if they're already gone?" "I'm not joking," she said softly. "I'm serious." The words hit Keat like a bolt of lightning, sudden, disorienting. But he took a breath, tried to stay calm, and said, "Okay, tell me everything. What's going on?" Tuna looked down, trying to find the right words. And then, slowly, she began to tell the story. She told Kiet how shocked she'd been when she saw her husband again. Years ago, she'd received official documents, papers that confirmed his death. She had mourned him, buried him in her heart, and built a life for her daughter on the assumption that he was gone forever. But then, one day, out of nowhere, he reappeared. No warning, no explanation, just alive. And with him came memories she had buried deep, painful ones. She shared things she'd never told anyone before, about the way her marriage had made her feel small and unseen, about the loneliness, about the silent suffering that no one had noticed, not even her closest friends. As she spoke, Keat listened, really listened, not just with his ears, but with his heart. And when she finished, she looked at him, eyes searching his for something, maybe reassurance, maybe understanding, maybe a promise. He reached out gently, offering her the only thing he could in that moment: quiet support. "Thank you for telling me," he said. "You didn't have to, but I'm glad you did." The afternoon sun had begun to dip behind the trees. It was time for Keat to leave, though neither of them wanted the moment to end. As he stood to go, Tuna looked at him, her voice tinged with vulnerability. "Will you still come visit us?" she asked. "My daughter and I. We're still going to stay here. Because of everything his family did to me, I can't go back there." Keat looked her in the eyes, a softness in his expression. "I'll be back," he said quietly. "Don't worry." And with that, he turned and walked down the path, the last light of the day casting long shadows behind him. Back on the porch, Tuna sat for a moment longer, watching the road where he disappeared. Her daughter stirred in her arms, and she held her close. Because sometimes, in the middle of all life's chaos between heartbreak and healing, what matters most is knowing that someone will show up for you, again and again. Kiet walked away slowly, the sound of his footsteps lost beneath the weight in his chest. His heart felt like it was crumbling with every step he took. He didn't even make it far, just a short walk from her house, before he sank down onto the side of the road, his back against a tree, eyes staring blankly ahead. He buried his face in his hands, trying to catch his breath, but it was no use. The tears came hard and fast. He hadn't expected this. Not today. Not like this. He'd come to see her, maybe to finally tell her how he felt, that her presence made his life feel fuller, that every visit, every shared smile, every stolen glance meant more to him than he could put into words. But before he even had the chance to say anything, everything changed. Now what? The woman he cared about, the one he thought he was beginning to build something real with, was suddenly surrounded by a shadow from her past. Her husband, a man he thought was long gone, had returned. And Keat didn't know what to do with that. He let out a guttural cry, one filled with helplessness and heartbreak. His voice echoed through the quiet fields around him, but no one was there to hear it. He pressed his forehead to the dirt, as if grounding himself would somehow ease the ache inside. Was it over? Was there still a place for him in Tuna's life? Or had that door quietly closed without ever truly opening? And how was he supposed to face her now? Or her husband, the man who unknowingly asked about him at work? The cruel irony twisted deeper in his chest. Keat wasn't just grieving the moment he was mourning the future he'd started to imagine. One where he could show up for Tuna and her daughter. One where love might have been simple, if only life had given them the chance. But now, everything was messy, complicated, painful. Still, a question lingered in his heart. What would Tuna choose? Would she return to the man who had once broken her? Or would she follow the quiet strength that had carried her this far and choose something new, someone new? For now, Keat didn't have answers. Only questions. Only tears. And the long road ahead. But sometimes, the most painful chapters are the ones that lead to the most powerful turning points. We'll just have to wait and see what happens next.
Kiệt lặng lẽ rời khỏi nhà Tử Nha, từng bước chân như mang theo cả nỗi nặng trĩu trong lòng, trái tim như vụn vỡ. Anh không đi xa, chỉ đến một góc vắng trên đường, nơi có bóng cây tre, rồi ngồi thụp xuống gục đầu giữa hai đầu gối. Trong khoảnh khắc ấy, thế giới xung quanh như mờ nhòe. Anh siết chặt hai bàn tay. Từng lời Tử Nha nói vẫn vang bên tai. Nếu em nói với anh rằng chồng cũ của em đã trở về, anh có tin không? Chưa kịp nói ra thì tình cảm đã chôn chặt trong trong lòng bấy lâu. Chưa kịp cô cho biết rằng mình luôn ở bên, rằng anh thật lòng, thì tất cả sẽ rẽ sang một hướng khác. Anh muốn hét lên, muốn trút cạn nỗi đau trong lòng, và rồi không kìm được nữa, Kiệt bật khóc nức nở, tiếng nấc nghẹn ngào giữa trưa hè vắng lặng. Anh ấy thấy mình thật nhỏ bé, bất lực. Giờ đây anh phải đối diện với với sự thật này ra sao? Phải đối mặt như thế nào với Tử Nha, người anh thương? Mỗi người đàn ông kia, người từng là chồng của cô. Hàng loạt câu hỏi cứ như thế xoay quanh tâm trí. Liệu cô sẽ chọn quay về quá khứ hay bước tiếp về phía trước? Còn anh liệu có một chỗ đứng nào trong cuộc sống của mẹ con cô nữa không? Chẳng ai biết trước được điều gì, nhưng ngay lúc này Kiệt chỉ có thể ngồi đó để nước mắt tuôn rơi như một cách thoát khỏi nỗi đau bóp nghẹt trái tim mình. Và rồi cuộc đời họ sẽ đi về đâu? Tử Nha sẽ chọn lựa điều gì? Tất cả vẫn là dấu chấm lửng đầy gay dứt.